She'd used that ability for millennia to defend her realm and draw more and more souls into the darkness. Each soul granted her greater power and dominion, and that was what Vernal truly craved. She didn't want to destroy the universe. She wanted to subjugate it and rule it all. Her power had limitations, though. For one, it was notoriously untrustworthy at predicting her own future. She could see the results of others' actions against her and how those schemes would play out depending on her response, but she couldn't see the outcomes of her own choices or actions. That was why her play to corrupt the Lalu Armisa, the Bridge of Light that was the Kala's counterpart, had failed so badly. Oh, she'd reduced the realms of light to tiny islands in the darkness, all paying tribute to her, which was satisfying, but she'd gotten none of the souls that were her due. Not only had she lost the souls of the Lightborn, she'd stopped gaining the souls of the Shadowborn as well. When the mortals of Ka died, their souls went elsewhere, somewhere beyond her comprehension, and the loss of that influx of power crippled her pantheon. That was why she'd accepted the Light's offer of truce, in fact. She'd made a mistake, and she needed time to correct it. She'd hoped to do so quickly, then allow the realms of light to return to their previous states. The more souls in them, the more power she'd get, after all. Once she'd realized that she couldn't repair the damage without restoring the Lala, a feat well beyond her power, she'd allowed the truce to continue. It didn't grant her power, but it did give her dominion, which was better than nothing. Her ability had a greater limitation as well. It barely functioned against the beings known as travelers. Something about those creatures blurred her sight. She could usually see their futures for short periods, a few days at most, often no more than hours, but even then her visions often failed her miserably. One of those failures was the source of her current malaise. The traveler Aranos, the so-called first sorcerer, started as a minor thorn in her side. When he reclaimed Harabel, she hadn't been too unhappy. The city was a ruin, utterly uninhabitable even for her bodakkai, so its loss wasn't a great one. She admitted to disappointment when he foiled Morx's attempt to corrupt Eredain, but again, she could have taken that city any time she wanted, so the loss was minor. When he freed Antas, that caused her a bit of fury that resulted in the deaths of a few thousand bodakkai and an appropriate punishment for Morx. Oh, he frustrated her long before that. He'd ignored all of Morx's temptations, despite her visions clearly suggesting that he'd accept. And he slew one of her precious nightmare beasts, primal creatures of devastation that even she couldn't replace. By taking Antas, though, the sorcerer went from being a thorn in her side to a blade moving toward her chest. With the knowledge of the library, he'd discovered how to tap the powers of other worlds, unlocked not one but 2 domains, and somehow he'd learned how to restore an arcane door. He'd done that by bringing the hated light into her precious darkness, and by wounding a god. What he'd done to Morx shouldn't have been possible. The domain of redemption could hurt one of Vernal's pantheon, of course, but it couldn't truly harm them. No domain could, at least not singly. Apparently, the sorcerer combined war and redemption, and that combination proved dangerous even to divine beings such as the Lord of Nightmares, whose withered claw would never heal. Garax was the next to taste the dread arcane's power, and the Blood Rager would sport a scarred face and ruined eye for all eternity now. And then the sorcerer had the temerity, the sheer gall, to turn down the blandishments of the Darkbringer herself. It was unthinkable. Every vision